So to introduce myself first, my name's Louise. I am one of the trainers here for home appliances at LG. My job is to sort of cover the south of England, but obviously at the moment we can't go out travelling, so I'm based in the office now. And we also are now providing assistance on lg.com. So if you go on lg.com/UK, there's like a little chat bot that pops up at the bottom when you're looking at certain products like home appliances or TVs, and I'm one of the people that does all the live chats and live demos. So it's my first time doing a live stream, so bear with me if I have any technical faults, but I should be okay. It seems pretty basic. So what I'll do today is take you guys through LG refrigeration. So I'm going to keep it quite top line, sort of what our product features are of like the main range. I've got a list of what you guys stock over there in Ireland, so we'll talk mainly about those models to keep it relevant to you guys. And most of the features I'll talk through today will be across the range. But what I encourage you guys to do is when you go back onto shop floor after this session is to have a look at the products, identify what features we've gone through today, and start having those conversations with customers about these different features and how they do benefit your customers' lives. What I'll do is kind of go from presentation to this sort of camera, because I do have little bits that I can show you here. But we'll start with the presentation. So let me pull that up. So we've got the presentation on screen now. So we'll start with the inverter linear compressor. So this is the heart of the refrigerator. So what basically makes it not be a like giant metal cupboard. In all our LG refrigerations, we use the inverter linear compressor. And as you can see on screen, a conventional compressor is 4 friction points, whereas the inverter linear compressor is only 1. So we do this because it means that it's more durable, so it has a 10-year warranty on it. But VDE did test it to last over 20 years, which is a real credit. And also by it being less friction points, it means there's less noise. So all of our refrigeration is Quiet Mark accredited. Now this means that they're the quietest on the market, so you rarely will hear that sort of like whirring noise coming from the refrigerator. So it's great if your customer has like the open plan living situation, because they don't want to hear their appliances going. So that's another bonus of the inverter linear compressor, but also it keeps energy ratings low. So the 3 key things to remember about an inverter linear compressor is it is better for energy, it's better for quietness, and it's better for durability. So those 3 points are your real 3 key points to remember here. Because people generally want to trust what they're buying, and by having a 10-year warranty, it means we trust the heart of the machine, and that it's not going to break. And we have a standpoint at LG called Nature Fresh. Now, if you go on the LG website, you'll see that it says Nature Fresh and things like that. But what it is it's a collection of features within the refrigerator that helps your food to last longer. So we have a kind of a little tag, less waste, more taste, and that is really what Nature Fresh is all about. So the first key point is linear cooling. Now this is on vast majority of all our products this year. Now this is using the control of the linear compressor to never fluctuate 0.5 of a degree higher or lower than whatever the machine is set at. And by having more precise cooling, it means the temperature stays at like one temperature, because when you go from hot to cold, that's when your food almost gets a bit of a shock, especially fresh food like fruit and veg. And then it starts to go bad because it's at an inconsistent temperature, and it will start to go bad sooner than expected. So then you've got a waste of food simply because the temperature is not precise enough. And then to sort of complement that, you've got door cooling. Now, if you go back onto the shop floor and you open some of our fridges that you have on display, and look right at the front of the fridge, and you'll see like a vent at the top, and it will say door cooling on it. And what it is it acts like an air curtain. So it's a barrier to keep the cool air in and the warm air out. And this is the same sort of concept behind linear cooling. It's to keep the food at a precise temperature, so it stays as cool as it should. And now we have the moist balance crisper. So this is a honeycomb tray that catches water that's let off naturally from fruit and veg, so like the condensation. And traditionally, in a normal refrigerator, that water will hit the shelf at the top and just drip back on into the drawer. So that's when you get like little puddles at the bottom of your fruit and veg drawer. Now with the moist balance crisper, it's a honeycomb tray that catches the water, and this helps your food last up to 7 days longer, simply because the water isn't going back onto the produce. I've got one here with me, so once I talk you through the pure and fresh, what I'll do is come off the presentation and show you what they're like. But when you go back into store, you can just get your customer. I know at the moment sort of regulations are not to touch the products, but when we're allowed to touch the products again, you can actually feel the honeycomb tray in the bottom. So that might be a way of explaining what it does. And then pure and fresh is a carbon filter, and it's got a little fan behind that box that you'll see in the refrigerator, and the fan is constantly pulling through the air throughout the fridge through this carbon filter to make sure that you don't ever have that overwhelming smell of food when you open the fridge. So you won't get that sort of like stinky cheese smell, or if you've done some food prep and you've got like really sort of smelly foods in there, that won't happen because the pure and fresh deodorizes and also kills bacteria. Now we have this because smells transfer onto other food, and this again brings more waste to food, because if you've got some nice like desserts in your fridge and you've also got some stinky cheese or fish in there, and you don't want your nice desserts to smell or taste of cheese or fish, so the pure and fresh makes sure that doesn't happen. So what I'll do is just show you, because I've got some here of kind of what they do. So this is one of the trays from the moist balance crisper drawer. So here is the like honeycomb tray, and this is what you'll feel. You'll feel that sort of texture. I don't know if you can see it that well on camera, but what I'll do is show you sort of what would happen. So I've got some water. Now I'll just pour a little bit on there, and I'll spread it around a bit because I've got like a mass puddle in the middle there. So if you just spread the water around the honeycomb tray, so it just sits in the little bubbles there, and then turn it upside down and it doesn't drip all the way through. See, it will if you give it a tap, all the water then comes back off. Now, it naturally works. You won't have to tell your customer that they need to clean it all the time and things like that, but you can simply remove them. This is one from one of our showroom fridges here that we've literally just taken out. So if they do want to clean it, they absolutely can. Just make sure that they do give it a tap so all that excess water comes off. And this is a demo that, you know, you can do in store with customers because you can just take it out, and it's a really effective way of showing them what it does, because you think the fruit and veg in the drawer, that water coming off sticks in there rather than getting those puddles at the bottom, which, you know, that's where you get sort of the soggy lettuce and things like that. That's where that's coming from. So that's the Moist Balance crisper tray. And here as well, I've got one of the Pure and Fresh filters. Now, if you go back onto shop floor and you open up, you'll see this little square box in the back. Now, these do come off, so do feel free to give it a twist and pull it out. They are quite easy to take off and to put back on. And you'll see the fan behind, and then you'll also see the carbon filter. So this is what you can show to your customer, and you can tell them that the carbon filter is what's deodorizing and it's killing the bacteria in the air of the fridge. So the fan's going to pull through that air, pull it through this filter, and then you'll never have that overwhelming smell of whatever they like to eat. This is a good sort of time to talk about their lifestyle, what they like to cook, their favorite foods, things like that. And then you'll never have that overwhelming smell when you open the fridge. And that's all from this little filter. Now, these filters are replaceable. The little panel on the fridge door will tell you when you need to replace these filters. There is a website called 4LG, which sells, it's like the official LG website that sells these filters. But you can also get them from places like Amazon for a little bit cheaper as well. But that's the Pure and Fresh filter, and I just wanted to come off the presentation to show you guys that, so you could actually see what it was all about. So when you go back into store, back onto the shop floor, absolutely feel free to just explore the fridge a little bit more. And these are great talking points, and it makes your sort of conversation with the customer a little bit more engaging by being able to take it out of the back and have a look and feel of it, even if at the moment, because they aren't supposed to touch the product so much, even if you just show them, it's an easy way to show them what it's all about. So I'll go back to sharing the presentation. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so that's the Moist Balance Crisper and the Pure and Fresh. Now we come on to InstaView. Now, InstaView is something that only LG are doing at the moment. And this is not only, you know, a wow piece in the home. When a lot of the time when people see them, they kind of want to know what it's all about and knock twice on the door. But there is sort of a smarter process behind that. They're very good for saving energy because there's less cold air loss. Now, the average person goes to their fridge and opens the door 15 times a day. So you can imagine if you've got the sort of traditional family of four, that's the fridge is being opened like 60 times a day, and sometimes for like no reason at all, not to get anything out, just to sort of see if you've got something before you go shopping or things like that. So the idea behind InstaView is that you knock twice so you can see inside the refrigerator at the front area. So this is where we'd encourage customers to keep their food favourites and their kind of go-to. So again, this is a good time to ask your customer what they enjoy eating and drinking, what they go to the fridge for the most, and then that's what they'd keep inside that door-in-door area. And the door-in-door area, it has a little latch on the bottom, and I'll go back onto camera and show you exactly how this works in a minute. And the latch is a lot easier to open than like the full door. So it's quite a good place if you've got a family to keep like children's snacks on that sort of bottom shelf area. Because the children can easily access that little door-in-door, and it's kind of makes it a bit more special to them because it is that smaller door. And the way to describe that cold air loss would be if you were to open the whole door, that would be like losing a bathtub of cold air. And if you were to only open the door-in-door, it's like losing a bucket of cold air. So it allows the customer to visualize the amount of cold air that is coming from the fridge just simply by opening the door. And we know that once the fridge loses cold air, the temperature is, you know, starting to drop. I suppose with our case, the linear cooling, the drop in temperature is less, but traditionally speaking, the temperature drops, and that's when the compressor really has to start kicking in and working. So the more cold air loss, the harder the compressor has to work. And this being the heart of the machine really does affect kind of the pressure on it, and it's more likely to cause strain and break. So by using the InstaView door-in-door, it's a lot easier and a lot less pressure on the fridge. So what I'll do is go back onto camera and I'll show you on the one behind here. So this is our black steel one. So you just knock twice and you can see inside the fridge door. And then the little door-in-door latch is on the bottom here. And then you would just open that and you've got these shelves in here. Now, you've got a bottom one here. So if you wanted to keep that larger drinks down here, or things like milk and those kinds of products, you could keep those here. And then people tend to keep the more like cheese type products up on here. And this is quite high out of the way. So if you do have families, then the parents can keep their like go-to sort of snacks up there out of reach of the children. So this is the door-in-door area. Now it's quite a deep one. So as you can see, this is the sort of area, the door-in-door area. So you can keep quite big bottles in there. But this whole plastic area can come off. So sometimes we have questions from customers saying, can you clean it and things like that? Yes, you absolutely can. You can just lift off the whole plastic and then give it a wipe down if it needs cleaning. The shelves you can take out if you don't want them. If you want more taller products in there, you can completely customize how that area is as to your preference. And then that's InstaView door-in-door. Now this one comes in a silver, well, so premium steel we call it, but I'm about to go through the list with you for sort of what's relevant to you guys, what products you have in stock in your region. So if we go back to the presentation. So that's the InstaView door-in-door covered. So now we're going to look at the products that are more specific to your region. So this is the black steel one, the one that I just showed you. The one I have here in the showroom is actually last year's model. This is the model that is current to range. So you'll see that there's that metal cooling, sort of metal fresh in the background. So this is more for decoration. Obviously metal stays cooler, so that will be a cooler place in the fridge. But apart from that, it doesn't do anything specific, and it is just a decorational piece as well as just staying really, really cold. This particular model is the non-plumbed model, so you'll see that there's a little plastic box there, and you probably saw it when I opened the fridge just then. So that's the 4-litre water box there. So that is what gives you your water and ice without having to be plumbed in. Now, 4 litres gives you about 73 ice cubes, so it is a fair amount. And if you had, you know, a family that or a household that were in a position where they couldn't have plumbing, it is a really good option. And 4 litres is a fair amount, so they wouldn't have to be filling it up every day and things like that. It does hold quite a lot of water, and it's made of a type of plastic that doesn't sort of leave that plasticky taste in your mouth. It is a sort of a very clean plastic, so that is much better than having one of those horrible plastics where you can actually taste it. This is a 601 capacity, so one of our biggest capacity American styles. Actually, the only one bigger that we do doesn't have water and ice dispenser, which is why it's got a bit more capacity. So in terms of holding as much food and drinks as possible, it is suitable for a larger family. With the 601 litre capacity, it is your traditional sort of width, so 912 millimeters, which is your kind of standard size width of American style. And then you'll see where it says USP, you'll see that it's got linear cooling, door cooling, InstaView door in door, Inverter linear compressor, metal fresh, and the easy handle is just simply how you open the door, and it's built in there, so it's not an eyesore. It's not going to come off in your hand or anything like that. It's built into the door, and it's a little clip just so you can easily open that door. And then your feature list tells you exactly everything that's in there. So a lot of the stuff we've already discussed. So we use the floating LED display, so it's a bit softer on the eyes. It's not too much when you open the door. And then you've got the wine rack in there. Utility box, which I'll show you in a moment, so you can see what that is. It's a little box in the middle of the fridge, and some people put things like medication in there. Some customers put chocolates and things like that, so they're out of the way of their children. Like, it's just whatever the lifestyle piece is there. And then you've got, so it says on there fresh balancer. Now this is similar to the moist balance crisper, but you can actually control whether it's fruit or veg. So that controls the humidity of the area. So obviously veg, you want to be more crisp, and then fruit, you want to be more juicy. So it would just alter slightly how much air is let in there, but it still has that moist balance crisper tray as well to catch that condensation. You just have a bit more control of the humidity in that area. And then in the freezer compartment, it says you've got larger usage ice maker, so it's built into the door. And I'll show you that can come on and off. I'll show you that after we've gone through this list. And then you've got ThinkQ Wi-Fi. Now, I get asked the question, you know, why would I need Wi-Fi for my fridge freezer? Well, you can remotely control the temperature, so you can connect it to the Smart ThinkQ app. control the temperature. You can also activate express freeze. So you can imagine in sort of the warmer months, if you were stuck in traffic or, stuck on the bus on your way home from shopping and your food was about to defrost, you can activate express freeze from your phone. And this is a sudden drop in temperature of the freezer. So when you get home, you can just pop it in the freezer and it's nice and cold. And it just basically stops it from defrosting then. Also with the ThinQ, you can run the smart diagnosis. So this is a function that's on all of LG home appliances, and smart diagnosis is it basically cuts out the middleman of like the engineer process. So you'd call up customer service, they can connect via the Wi-Fi to the machine, and they will know the initial sort of status of the product. It might be an easy fix, and then you already know, you don't need someone to come out, or the engineer will come out already knowing the issue. So it saves that whole piece of, they come out, look at it, go, X, Y, and Z is wrong with it. I don't have the part. See you in 2 weeks. And then your customer's without their fridge freezer for 2 weeks. So it just kind of cuts that little part out. Also with the thing, you can connect it to your other LG appliances. So say you've got an LG TV at home and you're watching TV. If someone leaves the fridge door open in your household, it will notify you on the home dashboard of the LG TV that the fridge door has been left open. And it's the same kind of idea with the washing machine. When your wash is done, it will notify you on your LG TV that your wash is done. So that's a couple of ways that you can, convert your fridge freezer to a smart fridge freezer. What I will say about the smart diagnosis is if you have a customer that doesn't necessarily have a smartphone, smart diagnosis is manually on our products. So if they were to call up customer service, then they would guide them on what buttons to press on their appliance, and it would let off kind of like a dial tone, and this would send the signal to customer services so they would know what's wrong with the product. So we're not isolating those who don't have smartphones, and they can still get access to the smart diagnosis, no problem. So then this is just the the plumbed in version, so you'll see that water box is gone. This is the premium steel one. Bear with me, someone's just joining us as well. 1 minute, I'll go back to the presentation. So this is the premium steel version. So it has all the features that the black one has. This is the non-plumbed version. I would say the silver, I'm not sure what it's like in your market over there. The premium steel tends to sell a little bit better than the black one, but it is to your customer's preference. It's a nice light shade of steel. So it's, I don't know if I've lost you guys. Bear with me 1 second. Yes, I wasn't showing the presentation, sorry. Right. Okay. Right, we're back onto the presentation. Sorry about that. So this is what I was saying, this is my first live stream, so you'll have to forgive me. So yes, this is the premium steel one, and this is the non-plumbed model, and then you've got the GSJ961 NSVV. So this is the non-plumbed version in what we call premium steel, so it's still that sort of light silvery colour. And this is the same concept, just without the InstaView on the front. So if your customer says, I'm not sure about the InstaView idea, but I really like that door-in-door idea to save on cold air loss, then you've got the this one. So they've still got that door-in-door and all the features that were on the InstaView. However, it's not got the InstaView. So it's entirely their preference, but it just gives them that other option. This is the Currys exclusive, so the JSL 961PZJV. So the our experts love for this year. So the key features of this one is obviously the inverter linear compressor, because that's on all of ours. That is the non-plumbed model. It's got your wine rack in there. It's got your moist balance crisper in there. It's got linear cooling, door cooling. So all the things that keep, you know, energy usage low, keeps the fridge being at that optimum temperature. So we'll say that this one doesn't have the pure and fresh in there. So you'll see that it's not on that back wall. There's no pure and fresh in this one. But I don't, if some of you were here before, on the model we had last year, it did have on that. And that's just so that Dixons can keep the price quite low when it needs to go on offer. And that we have now got the door cooling and linear cooling instead of the pure and fresh. So they're still getting, you know, loads of good features on that. And it's still in that same sort of colour, the shiny steel, that it was in previous years as well. And then this is the black version. Again, no pure and fresh, but it does have the door cooling and linear cooling. So still has the nature fresh aspects. Still has your moist balance crisper, the soft lighting, and this is the non-plumbed version. And this is the plumbed version, so just that water box goes. And then this is another Currys sort of special model, slightly different design. You'll see the black panel down the middle there. It's a bit different to what we had, you know, we've not had a model like this in Currys for a while. Slightly smaller capacity at 591 litres. So, I mean, you know, 10 litres smaller, but it's just a little bit more sort of precise to the design around the edging, rather than that sort of like curved aspect. And then it's in that shiny steel, so that's ever so slightly darker shade in terms of compared to the premium steel. And then this one still has your moist balance crisper, but you'll notice that this one doesn't have the door cooling and linear cooling. Still water and ice, still have your moist balance crisper, and still has your inverter linear compressor, so will be good for the energy usage. And you'll notice that this one just says smart diagnosis, so it's not got the ThinkQ compatibility, but you still get the smart diagnosis with this product. It just means that it's not Wi-Fi enabled. And now if we look at bottom freezers, so this is our premium black one. So you'll notice it has that metal sort of finish at the back. So this is a flat, can't speak this morning, a flat metal duct. So this one actually has the cold air coming through those areas. It's got your door cooling, your linear cooling, so again, keep that precise temperature. It's got your fresh balancer, and now this one has the fresh converter. So fresh converter just changes it from meat, fish to produce. So it's controlling a bit more of the temperature in that zone. So whereas the fresh balancer controls from fruit to veg, it controls your humidity. The fresh converter controls temperature inside there. And then it has the express cooling as well, which is like express freeze, but for your fridge area. And you'll see it says 0 clearance. So this means that when you open the door, it doesn't sort of like pop out to the side. If your customer has a narrow gap, they'll be looking for a 0 clearance product. So this would be one that you could look at. In the refrigerator compartment, you've got a 2-time folding shelf as well. So this means instead of literally having to take the shelf out, your customer can stack products in there by folding it halfway or folding it completely back. And this is good for hygiene reasons. You don't want to keep pulling that shelf out, and you know, where are you going to put it when you pull it out? And it's also for a convenience piece as well. Here you've got the wine rack and big freezer box as well. So this is so traditionally, obviously in a combi, it's hard to fit those big items in. So in this particular one, it has that big freezing zone, so you can put the bigger products in that particular zone. And then this is in the shiny steel, so similar. So this one isn't quite as big. This one has the moist balance crisper drawer and the fresh converter, rather than the fresh balancer and the fresh converter. And then it doesn't have that 2-step folding shelf. So you think this one is the sort of one down from the previous one that we looked at. And this one is a slightly shorter model. So this one is a bit more widely available in terms of what's on the shop floor to demo on. And this was a really popular model for us last year, and it's in the dark graphite colour. So it is the one next to the fridge behind me. So when I go back on camera, I'll show you that. It has your door cooling, linear cooling. So again, less waste on that. Moist balance crisper, has the express cooling, still 0 clearance, so good for that narrow gap. So it's a bit more of, if you think of it like an entry-level combi, and this one is the one, I don't know if you guys saw last year, it would go on offer and things like that. So it's the one that you may see more on the shop floor, and it is a really popular model for us. So that is the end of the presentation. So what I will do is just show you the ones behind me. So where we were talking about the ice maker in the American styles and that you can pull it out. So these actually come out, and then I'm just going to pop this down. It's very cold. And then you get these little shelves. So the shelf will then go in its place. And so your customer in like winter months, when they're not using the ice machine, they can then use this as a storage space instead. And then there's just a switch up here which will turn it off and then back on again when you want to start using it. And I'll just show you as well. This is a bit of a closer look at the water box here. So this is the 4-litre box, and then the piping is behind there. So your customer can literally take this out of the fridge and fill it up. They can either use tap water, bottled water, filtered water, whatever their preference is, and then just simply pop it back in the fridge. And then this is the one of our more popular combis that I was talking about with the zero clearance. So you've got the moist balance crispy, you've still got the door cooling from the top there, and then your freezing zones. So you can fit sort of like standardized pizza boxes and things like that in there. Perhaps not those giant ones, but if your customer wanted to, they could take a whole drawer out if they wanted, you know, a bit more space in there. The appliances are quite flexible. You can change things around. This model is quite good because you can change the height of the shelves. So if they wanted to keep taller products in there, they can. It's not got that two-step folding shelf, but it has got a bit of like versatility on height and things like that. So what I'll do now is just give you guys a little bit of time. You can, I know some of you might not have mics if you're using the computers at work, but you can put a question in the chat box for me if you wanted to ask any particular questions. So we've got a little bit of time now. We've got sort of like 5 to 10 minutes if you did want to ask me to pop it in the chat. I will say that we have LG Lounge, so all the modules on there go into more depth about things. We have videos on there that you can watch as well. And then also you can learn about all the LG products, and there's quizzes and you win points and things like that. So if you haven't gone onto LG Lounge to do your like home appliances section, please do that soon whenever you have the chance. Some modules don't take much time at all, just gives you a bit of a refresher. So just got a question. In the water box, can you put other drinks like orange juice, or is it just water? We would recommend just water. That is kind of what they're built for, purely because it goes through to, you know, have water and ice. It's just the one box. I don't know that anyone's ever tried to do it with juice and things like that. It would just, I think you'd have to then flush it through quite a few times of the pipe. So if you wanted to go from orange juice back to water, it'd take you a little bit of time. So we'd recommend just to put water in that water box area. Someone is typing at the moment, so I'll just give you a minute. Oh, you're welcome. So my sort of specialty is home appliances. So if you did have any questions, I do realise that you guys have probably met Kevin, who is, you know, he has been trained a little bit on home appliances. But if you did want to email me with a question or anything like that, Amanda has my email, or it might be on this invite as well. Please feel free. I honestly don't mind at all if you guys had any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them any time at all. So if you guys have got no more questions, then I'll just say thank you for joining me this morning and learning a little bit more about LG home appliances. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and keep safe. So thank you. Bye.